Yeah. So this the tragedy that hit Australia, hit the world. But I'm saying when I know the family. I stayed in their house as a child. My father, my parents, and his parents are very close friends. My mother's very close friends with his mother. My father's very close friends with his father. I used to work with him, so I know him personally. I mean, actually, this one who was murdered was in my brother's class in school. Three of them were in my sibling. Wait, two of them, three, yeah, three of them were with my siblings. Grew up in the same class. Three of the family. The one who was murdered was in my brother's class. The oldest brother was in another brother of mine's class, and another one was another brother. As one is a rabbi in California, as a shliach, also Chabad emissary in California. I think it's Bakersfield, if I'm not mistaken. And he was my brother's classmate. So three of them were classmates of my brothers. So it's really, really hurts and painful, and there's no words to describe the pain that we're going through. That's one side of the coin. The other side, we don't give in. A Jew, as much as we're hurt, and which it is, there's no question about it, we have encouragement. We go further. We go stronger. We light even more menorah candles. We do more things. We bring light. We fight darkness with light. We add more. And actually happened here in Ann Arbor. So I met a couple of people there and said they showed up by the Hanukkah, by the Liberty Plaza because what happened. Because what happened, they showed up.
Yeah, yeah.
It was really cold. I mean, it was freezing. I don't know the weather exactly, but it was really, really, really frigid.
Yep.
And many compared the weather circumstance and the crowd that showed up was pretty amazing, remarkable. And that's the lesson that we Jews take from ourselves. We add light, we do more light, we do more mitzvahs, we increase our Judaism, and that's how we bring light and continue going. So, may I wish everyone should be well, and the family should somehow continue and having encouragement to continue going on. So, all the best. So, with having said all that, let's go and talk about Hanukkah. But this is what it's all about: light and increasing. And the Rebbe actually spoke many times about this concept. Hanukkah is by the Rebbe actually one of the favorite holidays, if you can say that. He really liked the whole, the high idea of Hanukkah. One of the main things the Rebbe spoke about was you do as much as you can today. The first day at night Hanukkah, one candle, that's the mitzvah. Full. You did the mitzvah in the most complete way. Can't do anymore. It's a great. Comes the second night, one's not good enough anymore. Now you need two. It was wonderful for yesterday, but not for today. You did two, beautiful, great, did the mitzvah, everything's fine. Third night, oh, another one now. And that knows what you did yesterday is not good for today. And the Rebbe loved that theme, that idea of always increasing. So in our Judaism, in our personal lives, whatever we did yesterday was wonderful, great. Today, increase. The Rebbe had that theme the whole year. He always, but Chanukah was the real. Always spoke about this idea of how a Jew has to always increase. So we have to add more light, do more mitzvahs, be more proud who we are, and don't, God forbid, be embarrassed or or afraid or whatever it is. We have to be proud who we are, and that will give us more strength. That's our continuity. Okay, so having said all that, what the Talmud says, excuse me, what is Hanukkah? Okay, my Hanukkah. Now, what does it mean? What is Hanukkah? Of course, we know what Hanukkah is. What type of question is that? So you have Rashi here. Rashi comments. Excuse me. Rashi comments and says, "What my Hanukkah means? What miracle do we celebrate Hanukkah for? For what miracle?" Okay. So we saw the Talmud says, well, when the Yevonim, the Greeks went into the that the Yevonim went into the chamber, the Heichel, the holy temple, and they defiled all the oil, and there wasn't enough oil, and they couldn't find pure oil to light. No, they only found one jar of oil, and that was only enough for one day, and it lasted for 7 days, and so 8 days, and therefore we make the Yom Tov of Chanukkah. That's what the Talmud says. And therefore, and it's days of Halal V'Haidah, which means praise. Halal is praise, and Haidah like thanking. Right? That's the Talmud. Now, is there a mitzvah on Chanukah to have a meal? Purim, is a mitzvah to have a meal. One of the mitzvahs of Purim is to have a meal. Literally, have a feast. What's Chanukah? Is there a mitzvah to have a meal on Chanukah? And halacha is no. There's no meal in the mitzvah. I mean, if you have a meal and you say praises to Hashem, praises say that comes a Sudas mitzvah. But is there an actual mitzvah to have a meal on Chanukah? No requirement. Right? That's the halacha. Comes the Rambam, which is the Maimonides as we call him, as he's in English. Anyway, the Maimonides says that it's a mitzvah. Chanukah was celebrated as a day of simcha. Right? It's a day of joy. And if you have the mitzvah, there's a mitzvah, there's an obligation to have a meal on Chanukah. Whoa. So we see the contrast there. According to halacha, which is brought down in the Jewish code of Jewish law, there's no mitzvah to have a meal on Chanukah. The main celebration, it's established to praises to God. But according to the Rambam, it says it's also days of simcha, days of joy, days of happiness. So the question is, where's the Rambam get it from? Seemingly the Rambam, the Talmud says that the mitzvah, the obligation of the rabbis established Chanukah to be for praises to Hashem, Halal V'Haidah, praise, and the Ala Nisim, this person part in davening in the prayer and in the blessing after the meal, the grace after the meal, you say Ala Nisim. So where's the Rambam get this idea that it's also simcha, days of joy, days of happiness? So, so you must, okay. So to understand all this, okay, there's another question. Okay, so again, let's just recap. According to the simple meaning of the Talmud, it's established for the mitzvah is established for to Chanukah, the Yom Tov, the holiday is set up to be days of praise, not days of simcha, happiness. According to the Rambam, it says it's a day of happiness too. So where's the Rambam get that from? That's the question. Now we have to on the other side of the coin. There was a war, and Jews were victorious at the war. There was a war, and the Jews won the war miraculously. Why don't we do any celebration for that? In according to halacha, there was a war, and there's nothing to commemorate that war. You don't do anything to recognize it. What's going on? Okay, that was a miracle with the oil. Everyone knows. Okay, there's a massive war, and the Jews were few, and they were many, and the few managed to overcome the many. The story with the war, where a few of the rebels a couple of rebels managed to destroy the mighty army of the Greeks. I mean, come on, that was a great miracle. And why don't we do anything to recognize that? Right? So therefore, the Rambam has such an issue. So Rambam says, yes, we do. Because the Rambam has such an issue with that how can we say we don't make anything to recognize the miracle of the war? So that's where he says, yeah, it's days of happiness. It is days of simcha. It's days of joy. So when the Talmud asks, what's Chanukah? The Talmud disagrees with Rashi learns. Rashi explains when it says the Gemara asks, what's Chanukah? Meaning, what miracle did it establish the Chanukah for? For the war or for the oil? And according to the way Rashi learns the Gemara, means that the whole war, the celebration, the holiday was commemorated for the miracle of the oil of the menorah. But according to the Rambam, when the Gemara says my Chanukkah, what is Chanukkah meaning? Why was it established for praises? Not why do we make a holiday? That's not the question. The question is, why do we celebrate it? Why was it set up to be praises? Why do you do Hallel on Chanukah? Oh, you know why we do Hallel? We do praises to God because of the miracle of the war. So, excuse me, the miracle of the oil. So the Talmud was not even discussing the miracle of the war. That's obvious. We celebrate. That's when we won the war. We have to thank Hashem for that. We need days of simcha, days of joy. The question is, why is it days of praise? Oh, praises because of the miracle of the oil. So basically, the Rambam and Rashi are arguing to interpret the Talmud. When the Talmud says, "Why do we celebrate Chanukah?" Does that mean why do we celebrate at all? That's the way Rashi learns. Why do you celebrate at all? Why do you celebrate? We celebrate it for the miracle of the oil. And according to the Rambam, the Talmud says, why, what's Chanukah? Why it means why do we celebrate it? Why do we do praises on Chanukah? That's why. That's the question. So now, so the way the Rambam wants to interpret the Talmud, there's two parts of Chanukah, and there's two parts to the two things we celebrate. Where the Rambam? Let's look at the Rambam's and the Rambam's point of view. There is the war, right? Because of the war, we're going to make simcha. But physically, we're physically saved. We're physically under danger. We're physically attacked. We have to physically fight for our survival. To commemorate that miracle, we celebrate. It's days of simcha, days of happiness. If we have meals, according to the Maimonides, a mitzvah to have a meal, enjoy yourself physically. That's one part. That's one issue that we celebrate. Another issue is a miracle of the oil. They're only enough for one day, and they lasted 8 days. And therefore, we celebrated for 8 days for the miracle of the oil. If you want, we want a little twist. If you're not twisted enough, which is what I'm saying. I'm saying confused. What I'm saying. It's another issue. You can learn the question. You can learn the Talmud in a different angle, a little bit. Like, why? Okay, if you have the miracle of the oil, the miracle of the war, you should celebrate one day, like the miracle of Purim. Yeah. Also, we had we won the war against the whole, right? They're all trying to attack us. And we won the war. Purim is one day, so Chanukah should be one day. Why is it 8 days? Oh, you know why it's 8 days? Because of the miracle of the oil. There wasn't enough oil, and they last for one day. It was only enough for one day. It lasted 8 days. So the question comes to the Rambam. You can say that you can explain the Rambam very simple. The reason why we celebrate Chanukah is for the miracle of the war. Also, a miracle of the oil. Why 8 days? Or 8 days? Oh, that's only because of the miracle of the oil. Right? It was only enough for one day and lasted 8 days. So that's why we celebrate the miracle of. That's why we have 8 days. It's to celebrate the miracle of the oil. Now, it's obvious the Rambam is not going to change that. Rambam's not going to make a new thing up. When the Rambam says a miracle of the war, he actually discusses it. The Rambam actually in his halacha he gives a whole history, if you will, to explain what happened, how the Greeks, ruled over the Jews and made their life miserable, and they violated their daughters and violated and they took away their money and their wealth, and they oppressed them and violated them, and God saved us from that. Oh, that's number one. Reason number one. Reason number two, in a separate halacha, after the war was over, they want to light them in menorah. It's only enough for one, and they asked the oil is enough for one night and lasts for 8 nights. That's the reason number two. So Rambam he divides the two into he divides the two miracles in two concepts, right? Two parts. Chanukah has two elements to it, right? The miracle of the war, and therefore that's Yimei Simcha, days of happiness, day of joy. The miracle of the oil, therefore it's a days of praise. So Chanukah has two components to it. All right, with me. I hope it's the components, the part, the war component and the oil component. Therefore, there's two parts of the holiday. There's the war, we celebrate days of Simcha, days of happiness, and the part of the other component, which is the miracle of the oil, we celebrate the menorah. Okay, now interesting. What does the mean? How it's an interesting point. How do you celebrate Simcha? What are you going to what's the in halachic terms? What's considered Simcha? How is he celebrated Simcha? Does that mean, I don't know, drinking coffee? what would one do to make to say its day is a Simcha? And the halacha is you have to drink wine and have meat. Oh, now today's a Simcha. So if that's the mitzvah of Yom Tov, for example, Yom Tov is the mitzvah to have meat and the wine. Of course, that's of course you're happy, but you have to have these two physical things to make you to celebrate the holiday, right? So the same thing on Chanukkah, you're going to have proper meal according to the way the Rambam learns. Now,
Are you
what
saying the
about?
difference between a meal and like a meat and wine is maybe the bread that makes it a meal?
Yeah, no, of course you have bread. We're talking about meals, bread, but I'm saying in the bread, in the meal, to consider it a simcha, one is required to have meat and wine.
But if you had just meat and wine, would that be a meal, or that
Oh,
wouldn't
you
be
mean
enough?
bread too?
Yeah, that's what I think you were saying.
Oh, do you have to wash for a meal? Oh, well, usually when we discuss a meal, it's obviously it's with bread. Okay, a
Okay.
meal is not just eating without washing your hands with bread, and then it's why you have the bread. You have the wine and meat in this meal. Okay, so now so that's okay. That's part okay. So the meal part is for the war. The praising part is for the miracle of the oil. Now, um, interestingly enough, there's other commentaries, which discuss and say that the rabbis established Chanukah was because they rededicated the mizbeach, the altar. The altar was desecrated by the Romans, by the Greeks. You see, they didn't destroy the temple, but they desecrated it. They made their focus to desecrate the holy. That's when they came in after the war and they realized the whole base of the temple wasn't destroyed, but was vandalized in a really bad way. And they had to get it. That's why it's called Chanukkah. One of the reasons why it's called Chanukkah. One of the reasons Chanukkah is because Chanukkah is like Chanukkah, it's about rededicating, right? They had to rededicate the temple. And actually, interestingly enough, the reading of Torah on Chanukah is talking about the rededication, the rededicating of the temple, the dedicating of the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert. That's the reading of Chanukah because they had to rededicate the whole Mishkan. That's good. The whole Beit Hamikdash was vandalized by the Greeks. And interestingly enough, already talking about that, um, when when Moses came down from Mount Sinai and told the Jewish people that God will forgive you for making the red calf, the golden calf, if you build a tabernacle, and it was ready the 25th day of Kislev, and they wanted to get it ready, dedicate on that day, and God said, no, wait until the beginning of Nisan, which is like Kislev, Teves, Shvat, 4 months later. No, wait a second, Teves, Shvat, over 3 months, more than 3 months later. 3 months later, and Kislev was very disappointed. Why you finished on my day? Why are you pushing it off to 4 months later, 3 months later? And got to do it as another holiday waiting for you in storage, which is Chanukkah. So Chanukkah is that the Mishkan was dedicated and finished. They finished building all the materials. The tabernacle was finished in the 25th day of Kislev, and it wasn't made a holiday until maybe, I don't know, more than 1,000 years later. I should say more than 1,000 years. Well, yeah, 50. No, not 1,000 years. Or maybe yeah, fine. More than 1,000 years later. Yeah, it was dedicated as a holiday that the same day that the Mishkan Tabernacle in the desert was dedicated. More than 1,000 years passed since then. Okay, so now, so there is basically a disagreement why it's disagreement. Those who say that was dedicated, the Chanukah is not only because of the miracle of the oils, also because of the Mishkan, because of the tabernacle. Oh, sorry, tabernacle, the temple, right? The Rambam says is because the Jewish people were disgraced and were stopped them, they were robbed and all that, and God saved them. There are other commentaries, other halachic authorities. The reason why you celebrate Hanukkah for Simcha, days of joy, is because the dedication of the altar was rededicated. But the point is, they still divide it in two parts. They divide the Hanukkah as the miracle to make it praises is for the miracle of the menorah, and to celebrate as a simcha because of the war or the rededication of the temple. Now, why is halacha not like the Rambam? The reason is very interesting. When the Ritor, okay, or when the Beis Yot, when you want to rate the Shulchan Aruch, there was many different halachic opinions. So the question is, which opinion we're going to accept? So you know what he did? He took three great scholars, three great halachic authorities, and did 2/1. So whenever, if you have a certain issue and two say one thing and the other one says, and then there's 2/1, so he'll go on to the two. So when it comes to Chanukah, you have the three. You have the Rif, the Rosh, and the Rambam. They were the three pillars. And since the Rif and the Rosh, two of them say Chanukah is celebrated only because of the miracle of the oil menorah. Therefore, that's the Shulchan Aruch is not like the Rambam. It's not days of Simcha, but of course the Rambam is stronger. Even though the halacha is not like him, doesn't mean it's ignored. Is a great opinion. Now, and we're actually already talking about it. Where actually do we actually mention the miracle of the war, and that is in Al Nisim. You know, the Al Nisim, we say in the prayer, in the Amida, or in the benching, in the Birkat HaMazon, right? We say Al Nisim. And over there, it mentions the miracle of the war. So Al Nisim is to remind us of the miracle of the war, and the menorah is to remind you of the miracle of the oil. And therefore, you have two. We do mention the miracle of the war, but not in as a day of simcha. We do it as we don't have. We do it. We do it in the alanis. But just to finish off over here, this is the day to Chanukah. The point of the whole point of Chanukah was that the Greeks wanted us to live like them. They wanted to destroy our spiritual. They want to destroy us. In other words, not our soul. It was a spiritual war. It wasn't like Purim, which wanted to physically destroy us. Haman wanted to kill every single Jew. The Greeks, physically, I think, the Greeks weren't out to kill us all. They wanted us to live like them, to Hellenize us, to live, to break our soul, a spiritual destruction.
So why aren't the books of Maccabees in the Jewish scriptures? They're not.
It's interesting.
Are they?
It's not written there. I can't say for sure. It's a good question. I think that they may actually when did they decide of the 24 holy books was the beginning of the Second Temple, really after that time. The Book of the Maccabees were written like 200 years later. I'm not saying that's the sure the reason. I'm saying maybe that's the reason. That's my own thought. I can't say is the reason. But there is a Megillah, yeah, there is a Book of the Maccabees. But the point is that yes, there was a physical war, but the main point was the point of the Greeks was you be a Jew, live, but live like us. So they want to destroy our souls. So that's why they didn't destroy the temple. They could have. They had the ability to. They didn't want to. They wanted to vandalize it, take away the holiness from it. They contaminated all the oil. Why did they contaminate the oil? What bothers them so much? I mean, not what bothers them so much. That was their intention. It was purposely contaminated. Oil shows in the soul. Shows in the essence of a Jew. They want to destroy our soul. They want to destroy us spiritually. So deliberately contaminated our oil. But the essence, one jar was left, it wasn't contaminated. That shows in the essence soul of the Jew. The essence of the Neshamah. No one can ever contaminate it. Like it says, you can be a Jew is always a Jew. No matter you can be missing here, missing there, missing there, but the essence of a Jew always stays the same. Can never be contaminated. Can never be defiled. Externally, yes. Externally, a Jew can be tarnished, but the essence of a Jew, they never the evil negativity can affect it. They can't affect the essence of a Jew, and that always stays complete. And therefore it says nishta vil nishta can't get a Jew not he can be turned away, tore away or separated from godliness. And because we have the essence of a Jew always stays complete and holy, therefore we're able to overcome all the challenges, all difficulties. Like I was saying, it's not. The previous Rebbe was saying, like when he was in Warsaw during the war and the bombing, and many Jews were in this trying to get saved, go to a place of rescue, of safety. And there are many Jews. There's some Jews who were observant Jews, and some Jews were not living a life of Torah openly. And when it came to Shema Yisrael, they thought that's the last moment. Everybody said it. Why are they saying Yisrael? They don't believe, they don't live a life of Torah. Why are they saying Shema Yisrael? And that's the point, because that's who they are. Their essence always stays complete. The essence never is contaminated. The essence is never contaminated. That always stays complete. So enjoy the rest of Chanukkah. If you need a menorah, let me know. I'll give you one. And light menorah every night and increase. Oh, Friday night you need to light more, okay? Because you light it before Shabbos starts and it has to stay all the way to a half an hour after Shabbos starts. So the candles that you have the box candles that last for 40 minutes or 35, 40 minutes. That's not good enough for Friday night. You need tea lights, okay? So that's not good enough. You need enough light to light. You're gonna have to not have to. You need to light it like 4:45. I think that's when Shabbos candles. So first light menorah candle, then you light Shabbos candles, and then the menorah candle light till all the way to night and a half an hour after night. Okay, so let's say not exactly sure, but if night is, let's say not 5:40, the menorah needs to be lit till 6:10. So you light from 4:45 all the way to 6:10, almost an hour and a half basically, because you light the Chanukkah first. So you light Chanukkah candles, let's say at 4:40. And then light Shabbos candles by 4:45, and then the Chanukkah candle has to last till 6:10 around. So if tea lights would be a good solution, because those thin candles would not be good enough for Friday night. Okay, enjoy. Thanks for joining. Be well, and next time we should have better news for all of us. Oh man, yeah.